So I want
Right.
to start at the beginning of your career because I heard something that I think is a perfect tie-in.
Great.
You started your career without what most people think you need, the signal they think you need to get in the door. You had no degree, and yet you
Nope.
got a job at WordPerfect, which was, the predecessor to basically Word and all of the Word documents that we have today. So how did you do that? How did you break in off the get-go?
Well, I think one of the first pieces of advice I want to give to both kids and parents is that it still does matter who you know in this world, and connections help. I had the benefit of having a mother who was actually working at WordPerfect in their computer support, their customer support division. And she connected me with the representative there in their HR department. And I got a job as a receptionist at WordPerfect Corporation. But where I went with it next is what really matters. Is that I then dove in and started self-teaching my own abilities around Data Perfect, which was a database coding software, and built trust and credibility, having some technical skills. And I earned that over time, right? As part of my full-time job, I was doing HR work, but I was building my skill set on the side to set me up for my next career step.
It's funny. You kind of implied two different things that are true about the whole like who you know in your network. One is because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, you just got lucky. You just had to have a parent that worked at a place that." Well,
Right.
like everybody knows people that work places, right? So,
Right.
so on the
Correct.
one hand, like I always tell people, your network is better than you think. Like it really, I had this experience with my own son a couple of years ago. He wanted to get a job at a gym and he went and applied and he told me after he had applied. And I said, well, wait a minute. I actually happened to meet the owner of that gym at the chiropractor just last week. And I don't know him well, but we chatted, had a good conversation and exchanged numbers. You should have told me. I could have texted him, right? And often, like, there is people one or two steps removed from you in your network. If you let them know and kind of like, hey, everybody, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I'm interested in. Do you know anybody? But on the flip side, so your network is better and stronger than you think, but your network also won't do all the work for you. Like it can get you that first, hey, I'll get you an introduction. I'll get you a chance. I'll give you a shot. But if you show up and they hire you and you're terrible for 3 months, your
You're done.
network won't help you anymore, you know?
I want to say two things on that. First of all, over the last 30 years, I focused very hard on my net. Right now I have, for example, 7,500 plus contacts on LinkedIn that I've earned over the years. And I've focused on developing and maintaining connections to a lot of those people in the network because not only for me, but for my friends and my colleagues, that network matters to create opportunity. So that's one piece of advice for students and parents is build your network, start now, connect and maintain those relationships. And then on the career side, you've got to be constantly practicing this principle of constant, continuous learning, developing and refining and improving your skills. It's never over. It is a lifelong pursuit, especially in the technology industry where skills are constantly changing and the demand for those skills adjusting even in a year's time. You've got to be reinventing yourself, and that's fun, not a burden. That's fun to be constantly learning and building that discipline in your life.
I want to go. I know this is not really where we initially intended to go. We'll get back onto the
We'll get
tech
back there. Yeah.
certifications, but this networking thing, it's a really great. I think it's a great topic for people if they are, let's say, homeschooling or doing something alternative, and they're doing a lot of self-directed learning. So maybe they're going through knowledge pillars courses, and they're getting
Right.
the skill. They're learning the things they need. Maybe they're tinkering on their own and doing some coding. How do you network if you don't have, because like a pre-built network, right? If you're plugged in and you're at like I don't want to say, I'm not going to credit every college campus with being a good place to network, but there are some where you can. If you're
Yeah.
not in one of those settings, how do you go about building that deliberately starting at an early age so you're not just learning in isolation?
I think that you have to realize that within your own environment, your neighborhood, your friend group, your family's friends, that there are professionals that are working in those industries that you might be interested in. And to be proactive and confident about going and asking for information. Learn about the various careers through people you already know, and then they connect, and then they connect to somebody else. I have an example of a son of mine who was very interested in pursuing a career in Homeland Security. I had a friend that worked in the FBI, and he simply networked through me to that individual who then connected him to multiple different individuals across the different, security groups that are in the U.S. government. And he has built and is starting to build his own network of people that are interested in or doing the careers that he wants to pursue. The same principle applies whether you're doing homeschooling or in a college environment. You still need to build those networks. You have the resources all around you. Don't assume that you don't have that network accessible to you from your own family's connections right there alone.
Yeah, it's there's kind of two prongs to that too, right? You need a vertical network and a horizontal network.
Right.
So if you're interested in, coding or a particular thing, finding groups, they can be online, they can be in person, of peers who are also tinkering and experimenting and creating those sort of horizontal connections. But vertically, like if you don't, I'm just going to tell you, if you're a young person out there listening to this, if you don't know what every one of your friends' parents do for a living, find out. Because I guarantee one of them will do something that you've never heard of before. And you're like, that sounds interesting. What's that? Like my son met a guy, my son was working at a restaurant. This is after he worked at a gym. He's worked lots of places. And he was talking to a guy and he said, yeah, this guy told me that all he does is write copy for ads. And my son didn't know that that was a thing. Now, of course, I could have told him that was a thing, but he won't listen to me because I'm his dad. And he's like, that's really intriguing. I didn't know you could just write, like as an independent agent, write copy for advertisements. Like, that's really cool. So he started asking him about it. He started learning. And I think just at least knowing and being curious, because I've had the same experience. A neighbor of ours found out what I did and came and asked me if he could do video editing for me. And he asked if he could do it for free. And I said, I'll give you a shot. And then I started paying him to do it. So I think that's great to start where you are in the networking.
Remember, don't forget about your networks also from an education perspective. Like, for example, let's say you take a Knowledge Pillars course and obtain a Knowledge Pillars certification, validating that you have skills in coding or web development. There are dozens and hundreds of other students across the country that have also obtained that certification who you can network with socially, right? On the social networks. You post your information on LinkedIn, you connect to everybody that has a similar Knowledge Pillars credential or certification digital badge, and you start networking in that way as well. There's just so many different ways to network, and we could do a whole show, Isaac, just on this topic.
Yeah, it's funny how LinkedIn is secretly the most valuable social media network there is. And it's not as fun, and it's not going to give you all the like current events and debates about politics, which is probably what makes it valuable. But career wise, it's like people don't really realize how valuable it can be.